it's Devin here, and today I'm going to be doing the February book review. So I have 5 books this month. 4 are fantasy, fairy tale kind of genre, and then 1 is an apologetics genre book. So let's get into the review. These are the 5 books that I have read this month. Actually, some of these I started in January, but I finished them in this month, so they're included in this review. And I'll be leaving links down in the description below to all of these books on just Amazon links if you want to get them. You don't have to use those links, but I provide them for you if you want them. So I'll be starting with this book, Loretha Rings, The Return of the King. Now, this is the 3rd and final book in the Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this book follows, it's actually kind of split up, so there's like kind of book 1 and then book 2, and book 1 follows Gimli, Legolas, Aragorn, Pippin, Merry, and Gandalf, and just their whole adventure, the battle that they're going through, just basically leading up until they're at the Black Gate and they're clashing with Sauron's enemies. Kind of stops there, and then it goes into book 2, which follows Frodo and Sam, all the way from after they've seen Shelob the Spider, all the way up to, like, the first 3 chapters are all the way up to Mount Doom and destroying the ring, and then the next several chapters are just sort of the aftermath, if you will. Sort of tells like Aragorn's coronation, talks about what happened to Gimli and Legolas, talks about what happened to Gandalf. It follows all 4 of the hobbits as they go back to the Shire, and then all the stuff that was going on there, and sort of fixing all that, straightening all that up. And then it ends with Frodo and Gandalf going to the Grey Havens with Bilbo. So I really like this. Like I said with the other 2 book reviews of this series, is I watched the movies before I read the book. So I do really like the books. I think that they have a lot more in them, obviously, than the movies did. And so what I enjoyed about the books was because I'd seen the movies, I was familiar with the whole storyline and the characters, but there's a lot of new characters, some new storylines, and new details that were really fun to read about. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this book and the entire series. Now, this book has it starts actually quite a ways. Starting about here, and all of this is actually not part of the actual story. This is all appendixes. So this is all like extra information just about like the languages of Middle-earth, the calendars of Middle-earth, the histories of Middle-earth. It has like a timeline. It tells you the exact year of where the events in this series took place, but the events in the First Age, Second Age. Extremely detailed. I did read Appendix A, but then the other ones I just kind of skimmed because they're really long and there's a lot of information in each one of these. But yeah, like, see, they show even like the letters. It's very detailed. So if you're interested in going deeper into Middle-earth and its history and people and language, then you would probably really enjoy reading all of these appendixes and getting all that information. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this book and the entire series. The second book is another Tolkien book. This is Leaf by Niggle. Now, this is a very, very, very short book, as you can see. This version of it actually has an afterword written, just kind of telling sort of how this story came about, a little bit more detail in it. I really like this. It's something that I would definitely read again. Obviously, it's very short, so you could read it, multiple times. It's not super long. It's not like this really complex. It's a short story, so it's not, it has some depth to it, but it's a pretty quick read. And in short, what this is about Niggle, who is a painter. And he's been working on this painting, and all these things kind of come up, preventing him from doing this painting. And he keeps saying how he has this journey that he's going to have to take. And one day, as he's working on the painting, these men come and they're like, okay, it's time for you to go on your journey. And they like have already packed his bags, and he's just has to leave his painting unfinished and go on this journey. And then he kind of goes to the, it's like this journey takes him to this place where he has to work. He's kind of like, it's not like a prison, but he's like in these kind of like a cell or like a room, and then he has to come out each day and do his labor, and then from there he goes to this other place, and when he gets to this other place, he sees the tree and like the leaf by Nigel from his painting. There's a lot to be said about this, because like kind of like the sort of deeper meaning of it. I know when Tolkien wrote this, it was when he was going to be writing The Lord of the Rings. It was like before he was going to start working on that. So a lot of people believe it was kind of like an allegory, I think, of how he felt. Like the journey being like death, or like end of his life, and here he had this big work, The Lord of the Rings that he wanted to do, and that was like his painting, and he just was feeling very rushed by it. There's a lot more to be said. The place, it's said that they believe that, Nigel, when he was painting this painting, it was like when he was here, like in life, and this journey that he was going to have to take was, would be death or something like that. I think a lot of people think it was death, but it could be something else. And then they believe that the place he went, where he actually saw his sort of painting sort of come to life, he actually saw the tree and the leaf that he was painting, but it was real, was kind of like heaven. So I think it's kind of meaning that the work that he did here would be there, or something like that. There's a lot you could say about it. I definitely would read it again just to kind of see what my impression of it would be the second time around reading it. But overall, I liked it. Even if you take out all the possible meanings of it, it's still a very interesting story. And like I said, it's a very quick story. And if you like Tolkien, or if you want to read some of Tolkien's work outside of Lord of the Rings, then I would definitely recommend this book. Now, the next book, I'm actually going to do kind of both of these kind of at the same time. These are parts 2 and 3 of the Chronicles of Narnia. So the first one is part 2, which is Prince Caspian. Now, this is obviously about Prince Caspian. This follows the tale after The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The Pevensey kids all come back to Narnia. It's been about a year in their time, but it's been like thousands of years in Narnia time. So their whole time when they were in Narnia and they were kings and queens is kind of like ancient history, kind of like lore. And then they come back and they meet Prince Caspian, who's like the rightful heir, but he's running from his uncle because his uncle killed his father and now wants the throne, and now he wants to kill Caspian because Caspian's obviously the rightful heir of the throne, and the uncle wants his own son to be the heir of the throne. So it's kind of reminds me of kind of like Lion King, like you have the uncle who wants to be king, and then so he kills his brother, but then his nephew, it's the rightful heir, so then he wants to kill the nephew, that kind of thing. But there's a lot more going on than just that. Like I said, because it's been thousands of years in Narnia since the Pevensey kids were there, a lot of the things that you know about Narnia, like the talking animals, the trees, things like that, have just kind of, they're not like gone, but they've just kind of been silenced or just been hidden. And because these people, they're called the Telmarines, if I'm pronouncing that right, they're basically like men, humans, and they're kind of the ones that are ruling Narnia. And they basically, especially Caspian's uncle, he didn't like any of those old stories of Narnia, the old history, so he kind of like just basically silenced everything and was like, no, none of that's real. And Caspian, through the help of his nurse, or like, I think it was like his nurse when he was little, and then his tutor kind of ends up learning that these stories were not just lore, that they were actually real. And when he runs away from his uncle, he meets these creatures, and they all come back, fight against his uncle, and he becomes the rightful king of Narnia. And then that brings us into the third book in the Narnia series. This is The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So in this one, this is again in our time, maybe like a year, around a year since the events of Prince Caspian. And then in Narnia, it's still been around maybe a year, a couple of years, Narnia time. And two of the Pevensey kids come back, Edmund and Lucy, with their cousin Eustace. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Basically, this one was actually kind of fun because this whole book is they're on the ship, the Dawn Treader, and they're going to like the end of the world, to Aslan's country. And this one was really fun because they're running into all these different islands and meeting all these different creatures, and it's just a lot of new creatures that you don't normally hear about in the other Narnia books, at least the first two. So this one was just really fun, especially if you like books with ships and sea adventures. This one was just really fun for that. And basically this book is they're on this boat, the Dawn Treader, and they're traveling to the end of the world, to Aslan's country. Caspian is, his whole purpose in this journey is to find out what happened to his father and his father's 7 companions, because they kind of went missing after his uncle, took the throne and everything. So he's trying to figure out those questions, and it's just a really fun book. Like I said, there's lots of different mysterious islands and creatures and adventures, so both of these are really fun, and the whole series of Narnia is fun. I haven't read the entire series yet. I'm on book 4 now, but so far I like it. They're very quick reads. As you can see, they're very short books. I think they have like 15 chapters in each book, 15 to 16 chapters. So they're very quick reads, but they're a lot of fun. They do have a lot of the similar, kind of similar events or storyline, how they play out. So there is a familiarity with each book, but they're different enough that it doesn't feel like you're reading the same story over and over again. So I would definitely recommend both of these books and the entire Narnia series. And the 5th book is this book. This is our apologetics book. This is God just a human invention, and 17 other questions raised by the new atheists. One thing I want to point out in this book is that in this section where they usually have, kind of reviews by people who have read the book, there is a, down here, an atheist who actually reviewed this book. And the reason why I like that is because when I try to read apologetics books, I try to have I try to have as much of an objective and neutral outlook as I can. I don't want to just, read things that are just pro this or pro that. I want to hear from both sides. And that's what I really like about this book. Even though this is answering questions, obviously from a Christian perspective, one thing I did like about this was at the beginning of every chapter, they will quote like an atheist, so they'll share the objection. And several places they will share what the atheist is saying, what the counter argument is. And one thing I really like is that it has a ton of references. So if you are reading this and you're like, did that, is that really, the full argument? Or, just want to make sure, are they, fairly showing the other side's argument? There's so many resources in here that you can go and look up each argument and, make sure, okay, this is the right argument, or, oh, is that really the right, is that really what that article said or that study said? You can go in here and look up, what that study said. So the reason I like this book was it has, obviously it's 18 questions. It says raised by the new atheist, which is a term given to, atheism now. I think it's specifically for atheists. I think it's Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, and cannot remember the other one. But honestly, these are questions that I see just a lot of people ask. And so what I like about this is I kind of, even though it's not what I would consider like a resource book, I view it that way, just because it's dealing with 18 very popular questions, and it has a lot of resources. You're hearing from both sides, about the various topics. So you're hearing, this is what like this side says, this is this side, this is the evidence, and you have the resource to go and check to make sure that it's factual, or if you want to look further into it. I would recommend this book if you are like new to apologetics, or you just want like a very brief overview of some of these bigger questions. If you wanted to like really go deep, like some of the questions, like for example, like the question like, are miracles possible? They talk about that in chapter 3, and it's a short chapter, so you're getting some evidence, you're hearing the claims, you're hearing the evidence, you're hearing the objections from both sides, but it's very brief. So obviously, if you wanted to really look further into that question, like, okay, are miracles possible? I wouldn't recommend this, to go deep, or, But if you just want to, maybe if you're starting off with apologetics, or you just want to, you're curious about the answers to these questions, but you don't want it something super in-depth, then I would definitely recommend this book. And I would say, regardless of what you believe, I think you could benefit from this book, because like I said, it's got a lot of references in it, you're hearing from both sides, so, and it's covering a lot of major questions that come up. So overall, I would recommend this book, and yeah. Okay everyone, so that was the review. Like I said, I've been having links in the description to all of these books, Amazon links if you guys want to use those. You don't have to, but I provide them if you want them. And yeah, like I said, I would recommend all 5 of these books and the series that they are a part of. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you're having a great day and a fun day. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!